Hey guys, my name is Lisa. I'm with Living Light RV. My husband is Kent and he's busy working. So I said, look, I'll do the heavy lifting today. I will do the video for this week. And it's a gooder. We're going to be talking about downsizing. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a huge learning curve, but I think we're ready. I think we're ready for the challenge.
Yes.
Our kids are leaving the nest, so we're ready for our adventure. It's going to be lots of fun.
That's right. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned for sure. We'll show you some of our downsizing projects, our fixing the house projects, getting it ready to sell, and just the journey that goes along with that. All right, so downsizing is potentially one of the biggest barriers to going full-time in your RV life. There are so many things that we love and care about and treasure in our lives, in our houses, things that we've saved for years and years, and all of a sudden, got to get rid of all that stuff? What? That's way too much to ask sometimes. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about the emotional side of downsizing. I want to talk to you about some of the practical ways that you can downsize and what is downsizing exactly? What does that even look like? And this is going to be a two-part series because next week, or maybe the week after, we're going to be talking about downsizing once you're already in an RV. So if you're already in full-time RV living, full-time RV life, you still need to downsize. That's just part of reality. The first thing you need to know about downsizing is you have to have a big enough reason why you should do it. You're going to go through a lot of challenges to get this done. So your why better be big enough. So if you really are not sure that you need to downsize, and okay, let's just talk about this for a second. Downsizing could be because you're going from a house into an apartment. That's what Kent and I did. We actually went from a 4-bedroom house that we'd been living in for, I can't remember, like 13 years or something like that. We moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment, and that was what we called the funnel, which was perfect because we were able to just get rid of most of our stuff in order to move into the funnel, and then we had a whole year to get rid of the rest of our stuff before we moved into the RV. The wind is not cooperating with the direction of my bangs. Anyway, so that is one strategy you can use is to sort of downsize in stages. If a lot of you guys have a really long-term plan, which is awesome, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be living in an RV in 5 years or in 10 years or when I retire. So you have time now to get started with your downsizing, and I do recommend doing that. It can be a monumental task, so the sooner you can get started on it, the better. Okay, so that's one way that you can downsize is to do the sort of the incremental steps of it. If you don't have time for that and you just have to get her done, here are some things you need to know that are going to help you get that done faster. So number one, have piles of things. So you're going to have like a pile of, or boxes or bins or whatever, things that you want to give away, things that you want to try and sell. We'll talk about that in a minute. Things that are just trash. Surprisingly, we live with an enormous amount of just garbage, things that you can't even give away anymore. Get rid of those things, take them to the dump or whatever, recycle them if you can, obviously. And what was the other thing? Stuff that you want to keep. And in your keep pile, you might have things that you're going to bring with you to your full-time life in the RV, or you might have in your keep pile things that you want to store. So let's talk about storage for a second. When we first started downsizing for our RV life, we had this big lofty goal, and the lofty goal was we don't want to have anything in storage. We want to only own the things that we can take with us, which, you know what, that's a great idea. And for some people who are true minimalists, I suppose you could do that. Honestly, I think the older we are and the longer we've walked this earth, the harder it is for us to get rid of some of that stuff. Those things just have too much sentimental value, and they hold memories, and they hold memories of dear precious ones who have passed on, or people who just are so special to us. And so we don't really have the ability emotionally to just get rid of those things. And so Kent and I actually ended up having more bins than we thought we would have in storage. Thankfully, our daughter has a little sort of furnace room that she can have our stuff sitting there. It's not in anybody's way, but I'm not ready to part with a lot of those things. I'll tell you what they are. Some of them are our motorcycle gear. We are planning on having motorcycles again one day, and I'm just not ready to get rid of my motorcycle stuff, helmets, pants, jackets, boots, whatever. And that takes up a significant amount of space. There's no point in carrying it around with us in Bessie because we don't have a motorcycle right now. That's in storage. I did bring with us in the motorhome some of my photo albums, and we spent this last year dragging them all over North America, and I never looked at them. I thought I was going to. I thought, you know what, it's good to sit down and reminisce and remember the things that you've done with your family and your friends, but I never did it. And so now I'm thinking that I'm going to get rid of those, put them in storage for another day. I'm not ready to get rid of them completely, but there's no point in carrying them around with us. They're just extra weight. What else do I have in there? Oh, a few things like the kids' baby blankets and, just things from the past. So sentimental things that you're not ready to get rid of. They're going to take up too much space in your RV. It's okay to put them in storage. Nobody told me that. I thought it wasn't okay. I thought, no, you're not truly an RV, or you haven't completely downsized until you have nothing in storage. It's not true. It's a myth. It's okay to have stuff in storage. Anyway. And you know what? For some people, they need lots of storage. You might need a whole storage locker. Now, I would challenge you to maybe think, do I really need these things? Another way you can do this is, like I said, the same concept as the funnel, but not necessarily moving. So let's say you aren't ready to get rid of a whole bunch of your stuff. So you put it all in storage, and then, you know what, you go back a year later, and then the next year, and then the next year, and you incrementally downsize again, and you downsize again, and you downsize again. You say, I'm ready now to say goodbye to those things. I'm ready to give them a new home. I'm ready to bless someone else with those items. Let's talk about blessing someone else. This is a big thing that people talk about when you're getting rid of things. Let's say it's your heirloom china set, or your heirloom whatever, something that your grandma gave you, or maybe it's your favorite collection of books or whatever. And you think to yourself, my kids have always wanted these things, so I'm gonna give them to my kids. Your kids might not want them. I know, it's crazy. You think, of course they want them. They're valuable. They meant so much to me, or they're the stories that we read together when they were little, or whatever. Grandma made this for them. You need to ask your adult children if they actually want the things that you want to give them. And I'm telling you, a lot of those kids are going to say, no thanks, I'm good. And you think to yourself, yeah, but you have a house, you have room for these things, and I don't, and they're important, and they're family items or whatever. I think that was my dad that just drove by in the yuck truck. Anyway, so ask your kids. They might not actually want those things. And if they don't get angry. It's okay, because just like you're downsizing and you have priorities in your life, they have priorities in their life, and that might not include babysitting the heirloom items in your life. So then you have to think to yourself, if nobody wants it, if my kids don't want it, probably my grandkids aren't going to want it, and probably my great-grandkids aren't going to want it. They didn't even know who I was, but they're great-great-grandkids. And I just think, maybe it's time to let go of those things. It's just a thought. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying it's a thought. Okay, but when it comes time to giving things to other people, it might not be your kids who want your stuff. It might be your sister or your brother or your cousin or your auntie. So don't give up on seeing if family members want some of those items. It might just not be the people who you think it's going to be. All right, let's talk about selling stuff. A lot of people are ready to I just want to make a ton of money. I can just sell all my things and that'll pay for my renovation on my motorhome. But I'm here to tell you, those things that you think are valuable really are not. I mean, this is my experience. We found that nothing was truly monetarily valuable. Things that I had that were true antiques and heirlooms, I couldn't sell them. I couldn't sell them on Kijiji. I couldn't sell them on Craigslist. I couldn't sell them even to vendors or like an antique store. Nobody really wanted them. Nobody wanted to spend the money on them. So for me, I just felt it was frustrating to try and sell things, getting way less money for something than you thought it was worth, or getting nothing. This wind is driving me crazy. I should have filmed from this direction. Anyway, so just if you have time, like let's say you have 2 or 3 or 5 years, then yeah, maybe you do have time to just put something out there, put it in the marketplace and see if somebody will pay you for it. It might not work out that way. Just letting you know, it might be easier just to give it all away to the secondhand store, or even let it go for free on Facebook Marketplace or something, and people might come and pick it up from you. And honestly, if that's the case, you can be what's the word? I guess you can be confident, or you can feel blessed that you bless someone else with that free item. Probably somebody who really needs it. So, and they'll appreciate it. So that's just a tip that we found when we tried downsizing, that selling stuff doesn't always work out. Let's talk about those photo albums and photos and all of those paper things, receipts and taxes and just certificates and all those things. That's a lot of paper, and paper is heavy and paper takes up a ton of room. So I'm going to show you what I use to scan all my documents. I scanned all my photos. I still use it. I scan a lot of my receipts. I scan a lot of my paperwork, my bills and stuff. So I have digital copies of everything. It's called a Doxie Scanner, and I will put a link to it below from our Amazon store, so you can go ahead and buy it there. And Kit and I get a little bit of a kickback for that. Not much, but it definitely helps. Every little bit helps. Anyway, so you can buy the Doxie Scanner, and I'm not sponsored by them by any means. It's just a product that I really like. It's super small and compact. It fits in the motorhome no problem, and it does really high quality scans, and you can put them wherever. You can put them up on Google Drive, you can put them on a hard drive, you can do whatever you want with those digital copies. Honestly, I actually like the digital photos better than the paper ones, because the paper ones, they, like I said, they sit in a photo album and they never get looked at. You have a whole online album of old photos of when your kids are babies or at that family reunion from 25 years ago, and you can surprise someone by putting that on their Facebook one day and just saying, hey, look what I found. So I just find that the digital photos actually have way more usability factor than a paper photo. And yes, I did throw away all the paper photos. Oh, I know, it's a horrible thing. Somebody's gonna get really mad at me for doing that. And it's not for everybody, but for me, I was ready to let go of the paper copies, knowing I had several places where I had stored all my digital copies. And yeah, it's all good. So that is definitely something you can do to get rid of a lot of that paper clutter. Yeah, and when it comes to those sentimental items and the emotional side of downsizing, you have to remember that the memories are what matters. So as long as you have something to sort of trigger that memory, whether it's a digital copy, maybe it is a small trinket from a special Christmas time or whatever, you can hang on to those things. Those are the triggers for the memories. The item itself isn't the memory. So that's just something to remember. You don't have to carry around every outfit that your kid wore when they were 3 years old. You can carry maybe one special outfit from their childhood, and I just think that's important to remember, that the memories are important, but the stuff connected to the memories isn't quite so important. One thing you can do as you're going through some of your items, and you pick something up and you go, I just don't really know what to do with this. Do I keep it? Do I get rid of it? Will I regret getting rid of it? You can think to yourself, you can ask yourself a few questions. Seriously, that's driving me nuts. You can ask yourself a few questions. You can ask yourself, do I need this? Sometimes you just need stuff. You don't really love it, but you need it. Do I really love it? Like, I really get a lot of joy from this item. That's pretty much those are my questions that I ask. And if the answer is no, I don't really need it, or no, I don't really love it, then it can find a new home. And I'm okay with letting those things go. So that might help you when you have like an outfit, a pair of like some clothes, a pair of pants or skirt or something, and you just kind of go, do I really love this? Do I really need it? Nope. See you later. Since we're talking about clothing, I just want to give you guys a really cool tip that we heard that we haven't done a lot yet, but I think we might start doing this because Bessie is bursting at the seams. We have so much stuff to get rid of in the motorhome. That's part 2, so stay tuned for next time on that one. But I just want to let you know that one thing you can do is you can actually sell certain things that you don't use very often. Let's say you have an item of clothing that you use once a year, maybe a Christmas sweater or a like here in Alberta we have Calgary Stampede. Not this year, unfortunately, but normally we have Calgary Stampede. You wear a cowboy hat, you wear your cowboy boots, you wear your cowboy duds, and we don't need to have those things hanging around with us all year. So we can actually get rid of those and just buy them every year. I mean, you spend your 30, 40, 50 bucks on a couple of hats or whatever, and that's all you need to do. So you can also rent stuff. So even when I'm thinking about our motorcycle gear, as I'm filming this right now, I'm like, maybe it is time to get rid of that, and when we get new bikes, then we'll get new gear. Or if we rent bikes for a week somewhere, then we can rent the gear as well. So renting or buying, you can go to the secondhand store and buy a winter jacket. If you're going to a place that's going to be cold and you're only going to be there for a couple of weeks, don't pack your winter jacket around with you all year. Just go to the secondhand store. It might not be the most fashionable, but it'll keep you warm. So I just think that there are ways to think about your stuff maybe a little bit outside the box of what would be, normal as if you were in a sticks and bricks house. Oh yes, Kent wanted me to mention to you as well, when it comes to downsizing tools and maybe like stuff in your shop, things for projects, whatever, you can rent tools and you can borrow tools. I mean, Bessie is such a small motorhome. We really have very limited storage space, but we have friends who have big motorhomes and big toy haulers, and they have huge garage areas full of tools. And when we go to a campground, or when we boondock with somebody in their driveway, we can say, hey, can we borrow such and such tool? And people are usually pretty willing to lend you some stuff, especially when you're offering things like friendship, or maybe you can bake them some cookies or whatever. So it's okay to trade. Think of your community, think of your village that you live within, your tribe. We are here to help each other. So I think it's okay to say, I probably don't need 5 of this one tool. I could probably just have 1 of this one tool. And hey, if it breaks or if it doesn't work, your next door neighbor at your campground or out when you're boondocking in Quartzsite is probably going to have that same tool that you can share. So it's one of those things where you don't need to bring your entire shop with you. If you can, and you have space and you have the cargo carrying capacity for that, that's great. You could be that guy that everybody goes and asks for the tools. All right, 2 more things I want to encourage you with as you plan for your downsizing stuff, and they're the good stuff. So the first one is, your plan is a good plan. So if your ideal is, I don't want to have anything in storage, I only want to keep what I live with, that's a good plan. And if your plan is, I need 3 storage lockers and a house full of stuff, that's also a good plan. That's not really downsizing, but it's still an okay plan because it's your plan. So whatever it is that makes you feel like you've accomplished what you need to do in order to get on the road full time, that is the right plan for you. So these are just ideas, these are just advice that we've experienced, some tips and tricks that we've understood that from our experience of downsizing. And the last thing I want to leave you with, and this might be actually the most important tip, don't forget to take a break, take a breather, and have fun. So if you are, especially if you're downsizing quickly, so we downsized, it took us a year, but of course there's always that final crunch at the last month or two where you're like, it's go time. Take a few minutes, take a day, take a few minutes every day, take a couple of days and go for a holiday, go camping, go for a walk. At one point we ended up renting a Mustang. It was weird. Ken needed to rent a car for work. It ended up being a Mustang, so we took the day off and just went and drove around in the Mustang in the middle of renovating our RV and downsizing and all. Life was so crazy, but it was exactly what we needed to just take a step back, take a breather, and enjoy life. Don't forget, you guys, to grab life by the tail. I am Lisa with Living Light RV. I hope you guys have fun with downsizing. Please leave in the description below your best tips for downsizing. I know we've all done it at various levels. I mean, even if you haven't downsized into an RV yet, we all have moments of our life where we have to downsize. So go ahead and leave your tips and comments below, because this is a community and we learn from each other, we grow with each other. You guys take care, and I'll see you next Thursday. You guys, there's one thing I forgot to let you know, that I actually do have a blog post about downsizing. I wrote it couple years ago as we were going through our big downsize, so you can check that out. I'll leave the link below, but just go to livinglightRV.com, click on blog, and you'll be able to find that link right there. So hopefully that gives you some real practical, like, you can print that out. There's a whole bunch of great ideas, probably a whole bunch of stuff I never mentioned on this video, but yeah, good luck with your downsizing, you guys. Take care. Don't forget to watch some of our other videos. Kent's got a whole bunch of playlists put together, and he's got some really cool tips and tricks on things that you should have when you go RV living. It's his mini series, and it's called What Is It and Do I Need It? So go ahead and check out that playlist as well. You guys take care.